That's right. Welcome in. Welcome back, folks, to a Notre Dame is about to start their Rockney road trip. Let the Four Horsemen ride again all the way to New York, edition of the Always Irish Show. As always, you can find the program on YouTube. Do it. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Appreciate it very much. Give the video a thumbs up. That helps Johnny out as well. Notifications on that way you don't miss nothing. Twitter, search bar Always Irish. Rat. Always Irish Inc. Emails alwaysIrishND@gmail.com. Audio only, anywhere you want it, you can get it. If you don't want to see my face, ain't nobody going to blame you for that. How do you think I feel? Whoa, buddy. Call in lines 312-900-8815. You dialed up, tell Uncle Yanni Boy all you've heard and seen. Notre Dame Fighting Irish brought to you by Sports Illustrated. Read about it every single day of your life. I got an article for you. How about patreon.com/Always Irish? He, the former captain, he, the leading tackler. It's Mike Goolsby and Jared Clark breaking down all the film. Oh, man, we had a good round table the other day. Debate Notre Dame topics. It's heating up over there. All right. Welcome in. Welcome back, folks. 2 more games to go. 2 more games. And if Notre Dame can win them both, it looks like they may be hosting a playoff game. Now, don't get me into this. Listen, man, maybe some of you brainiacs can figure this stuff out. Don't get me into this like, oh, John, if they get the home seed, who are they going to host? You got the ranking and then the seeding, and then it could all change. And then every week it's a different thing. I can't even really keep up with all these different crisscrosses, everything that can happen. Oh, Notre Dame can play over this bracket and then this bracket, and then they can play this team, and you're ranked this, but you're seeded this. It's a lot to keep up with. I ain't smart enough. I'm not smart. I'm not smart enough. I can't do it. So I'm not even going to try. I'll let some bracketologists do it. I ain't smart enough to keep up with all this. I can't be the only one sitting there sometimes going, wait a second, you're ranked this, and then you're seeding that, and you're losing how many spots to the automatic? Who do you play? I don't know. Just win these 2 games, and we'll figure it out later. Two unique challenges left. First, the Four Horsemen ride again. It's Notre Dame and one of our legendary foes and all this history with Army at Yankee Stadium, except it isn't even Yankee Stadium. I'd like it a lot more if it was actually the original Yankee Stadium. I like my sports history. I just think I don't like the new building like I had reverence for the old building where Lou Gehrig and Mickey Mantle and Babe Ruth and all them guys, where it's just not the same. And I'm not a Yankees fan. I'm a miserable White Sox fan. I'm not a Yankees fan, but I respect baseball history. Same reason I went to a 2016 home Cubs World Series game. Wasn't because I love the Cubs. It's because I respect baseball history. And I knew what the moment was. I didn't cheer for him for 1 second, but I wanted to be there to witness baseball history in the city of Chicago. So the Four Horsemen ride again. It's Notre Dame and Army at Yankee Stadium, and it's really, really interesting. So let me present this to the group. Do you feel better about this game and Notre Dame's chances in this game because we already played Navy? And I know, oh, John, you don't know your ball. They're not exact styles. Yeah, I know, nerd. Chill out. I'm not saying they're exact styles, but they're similar enough with similar athletes, that kind of thing. This team's even more traditional option-y than the way Navy likes to run now. So it does give me a little confidence that some of these younger guys and some of these depth pieces, it won't be their first time seeing something like this at all. It doesn't have to be exact for your experience to be able to help them from that game and parlay it into this game. So that does give me a little confidence that we've seen a similar style before. Maybe I end up finding out that's foolish and we get burned by me thinking that should indicate something. And by the way, I do want to mention, we crushed Navy, but a lot of it had to do with Navy literally playing the worst game of the year and handing us the ball 80 times. You can't count on Army to do that. But at the time, Navy kept possession of the ball and had the lowest turnovers in the whole country too, and they turned it over, what, 6 times or something? So I'm just saying I do have some little extra confidence that this isn't the first time our guys are seeing something like this. Here's the next piece of this. Listen, Notre Dame's in a position where if you lose again, you're out. And there are only 2 outcomes to the season at this point. Number one is they make the miraculous comeback from week 2 when everybody counted them out all the way back to hosting a playoff game and everybody's happy for a while at least. Or they lose again and everybody blames Northern and then you end on a miserable note and you miss the playoff and you're in another bowl game nobody cares in, and nobody's here for that. There's no in between. Those are the only 2 outcomes here. Total success or total failure. There's no in between. You're either making this playoff or you're not. Army's undefeated. They got a scoring defense ranked ahead of Notre Dame. Notre Dame's number 3, allowing just over 11 a game. These guys are number 2, allowing just over 10 points a game. It's Ohio State, Army, and then us. 1, 2, 3. I respect all of this. But here's where I start to have an issue. When I'm looking at writing my articles, I'm looking at previewing this game. I'm looking at trying to figure out what I'm going to predict for a final score in the Sports Illustrated, all this stuff. Here's the problem I have with this whole discussion. The problem I have is multifold, and it's called this. Lehigh, Florida Atlantic, Rice, Temple, Tulsa, whatever UAB is, East Carolina, Air Force, North Texas. Now, I know, I'm fully aware, nobody thinks Notre Dame's played the toughest schedule in the world. I know we haven't either. It's not that we didn't try, by the way. I'm still going to fight for Notre Dame on this. We did not make Miami back out of the ball game we're playing this week. This is what we replaced Miami with when they said they just couldn't fit it in their busy schedule. Can't get enough unfiltered Notre Dame football talk? Be sure to go over to patreon.com/alwaysirish. Former captain Mike Goolsby and myself. Do that. Screw it.
Oh, we never won anything. It's been 30 years.
This is the game we replaced them with. And it's not Notre Dame's fault that Florida State went from top 10, 13-0 to the worst team in a freaking America. And it's also not Notre Dame's fault that USC has 5 losses. But I realize Notre Dame hasn't played the toughest schedule in the world. But I don't know how to appropriately gauge Army off these teams. And you know what I'm not going to do? I'm not looking at this. I'm not looking at their stats and just making it apples to apples. And I'm going to bring up what they're statistically good at and all this to you guys. I'm not doing it because I don't think it's an accurate representation. I'm sorry. But I don't know how to gauge your stats against whatever Lehigh is or UAB. Like, I can't do it, man. Rice. So I don't even know how to properly and fairly gauge these numbers with these guys. But like I already said, I don't expect them to hand us the game the way Navy uncharacteristically did. But let's be realistic about it. Goolsby brought this up the other day on the Patreon Monday Night Raw. He's like, John, I'm not being rude. I'm not disrespecting our service members. But these are guys that are not Division I scholarship athletes. They're going into the Army, man. And that's not meant to offend. It's just a fact about, like, their life is on a different track, and it's not the D1 athlete track for most of them. You may have an exception here or there of a guy that could go play D1 football at the Big Ten or whatever, but is a military man from his family or whatever. God bless you, man. Go for it if that's what's in your heart to serve or whatever. I'm just saying. The only way Notre Dame loses this game is if we beat ourselves. And there's a few different ways you could do it if you're playing a team like Army. Penalties. You get another 100 yards of penalties. I don't like that against an option team that wants to hold the ball. Take time off the clock. Notre Dame 1 of 12 on 3rd down last week. That ain't going to cut it when possessions are going to be limited against a team that likes to hog the ball. Don't even get me started about the kicking game. You better not need a field goal to win anything the rest of these 2 games of the postseason. Notice that these are primarily all offensive concerns. I have a very, very hard time seeing Notre Dame's defense not get after these guys on some of these option looks. Even in the game Notre Dame lost this year, yeah, that defense played uncharacteristically poorly. 16 points is like an awful day at the office for them. That's enough points, even with their mistakes. They should be able to win that game. I got a hard time not seeing our defensive front start crashing and penetrating and filling those gaps and causing some trouble behind the line of scrimmage. I'm just telling you. Notre Dame has come so far from week 2, man. You cannot lose to Army. I know they're undefeated. You cannot have can you imagine a ledger that has a loss to Northern Illinois and a loss to Army on it? It's just, it can't be a practical reality, you guys. It can't happen. It just can't be. What's that spread? Notre Dame by 15, something like that? I mean, I need that defense to be crashing those gaps, just making trouble in the backfield, disrupting, penetrating, all that kind of stuff. Use your athletes that you got. And the offense, I'm telling you, man, even we should be able to pass on these guys. And I realize they have one of the top pass defenses in the country again. I'm sorry, bro, but I don't know how to gauge that when it's against Lehigh and Rice and Air Force and Tulsa, whatever UAB is. I don't know what UAB is. Is it Alabama, Birmingham? Whatever. Not the main Alabama. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I'm not going to sit here and go over their stat lines against these teams I've never heard of and then act like it's an SEC schedule. So that's the problem I have breaking this game down is all these stats and everything. I refuse to act and get all scared or intimidated by any of these numbers. And Navy was undefeated and whatever, and they were getting all pumped up, and then we ran into them, and what happened? Is this a similar thing? I need that defense to crash and get in there, penetrate, disrupt, do all that behind the line of scrimmage. On offense, get your athletes the ball, man. Jeremiah Love's going to be the best athlete on the field by tens of miles. Give the guy the ball and get him a couple blocks for Pete's Dragon. And this just can't turn into a thing. You're going to New York. You're playing at the baseball field. You're going to have the different jerseys. You're playing Army. I said Navy. They're playing Army. They're going to do the NBC things. All going to be about the Four Horsemen. And 100 years ago, it's the whole thing and all this. It's just, you got to take care of business, man. You got to take care of business. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Army. I'm really not. But, man, you've come so far. You cannot find a way to lose to Army. I got Notre Dame by 24, but I can't quite figure out what the score is going to be. Notre Dame by 24, but I can't figure out where I'm going to put it. I'm trying to figure out how many possessions I think Notre Dame's going to get, but that's hard to figure out. So, I don't know, you guys. Maybe I'm reading this all wrong. Maybe this Army setup of them being undefeated is going to be totally different than when Navy was undefeated and we're way off. I just go back to the fact. Athlete to athlete, the only way Notre Dame loses this game is to beat ourselves. I guess if you're looking at it that way. I don't see Notre Dame playing 2 games back-to-back as kind of weird, as out of sync as they did last week and then doing it again. I don't think they're going to have as many penalties. I don't think they're going to go 1 for 12 on third down. I expect a cleaner, tighter operation this week. And I don't know if it was just senior day or a weird off week. I don't know what you want to attribute it to, but I don't think you're going to see that 2 weeks in a row. And to be truthful, these guys have played pretty tight on the road a lot of the year. So that's kind of where I'm at. And it could come back and burn me. And if they smoke us, maybe if there's an Army podcast, they'll cut this up and make fun of this always Irish moron. And they could celebrate ruining our year. And then you could go out to LA and lose there too and surf your way home along. I don't know. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think this Notre Dame defense especially is foaming at the mouth, ready to get some penetration behind the line of scrimmage and cause some real trouble. And man, offensively, you have so many athletes I know that could just out-athlete their guys. Get them the ball and let them do what God made them to do, man. Get our guys the ball and 1/2 a block even and let them go. This isn't rocket science, man. Leverage your athletes against theirs and just do the basics and you're going to win this game. And you check it off and then cue the Tupac to live and die in LA. It's the place to be. You got to be there to know it. Everybody wants to see. Your entire existence in your Irish life should come down to that battle in that dump in Southern California with 14 people there to root it on. So we'll see how it goes, you guys. If you think I'm cheaping out on this preview or whatever, you could think that. I refuse to build these stats up against Lehigh and UAB and Tulsa. Let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to check out the merchandise. The link is in the description. You can browse and carouse all the different Always Irish gear. Make sure you head over there and get something for the next tailgate. Thanks for being here.